up, motherfuckers? It's the hater back again, and we're going to talk about NXT Takeover 30, also known as NXT Takeover XXX in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to lie. I did not enjoy this show. I did not think it was good. So there you have it. You know what I mean? The first match, it was the pre-show match. I actually watched it because I didn't know what they would have in the pre-show, but I figured they might have something. And that'd be something that I'd like to see. And the match that they had was Breezango versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch and Legado del Fantasma. You know what I'm saying? And throughout this match, I couldn't help but wonder if Breezango were to lose this match, even though they ended up winning. But during the match, I was like, if they lose this match, what does that say, right? That says that these guys were not good enough to be on the pre-show of the, pre-show of shows. You understand what I'm saying? If that made any sense. These guys are not good enough to be on the pre-show of NXT. They're not good enough to be on the pre-show of the beginner leagues. You know what I'm saying? Of the D leagues of WWE. Like, they went from WrestleMania, like Fandango debuted at WrestleMania. He went from WrestleMania to the pre-show of NXT. And if they don't win their pre-show match at NXT, then what's the next step? Like, there's no other justification to keep them around at all. It's just fire them. Like, you're not going to even have them win the pre-show match? You know, these two guys that have competed on pay-per-views? Then beat it, kid. Nobody wants you around. So, luckily they won. The match was all right. Breezango's cool. I like Breezango, you know? Like, it's not their fault that they're booked the way they are. But it is what it is, you know? You got to take that into consideration, motherfucks. So, the match was all right, especially for a pre-show match. I thought it was pretty good considering that it was a pre-show match. So, yeah, I enjoyed that match, I'd have to say. Next up, we had the first match of the night of the real show. Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. Now, everything I just said about Breezango, you can just copy and paste that onto Finn Balor because the same criticisms exist, right? The first one, of course, being that this guy, unlike Breezango, Finn Balor was a multiple-time, winner of championships on the main roster. Former Intercontinental Champion and former Universal Champion, right? This guy's supposed to be a big deal, motherfucks. Finn Balor's not supposed to be this jobber, you know, but yet here he is, wrestling Timothy Thatcher. Okay, great, he beat Timothy Thatcher. You know, this is like, at this point, just send it back to Japan and have him wrestle Ryusuke Taguchi in New Japan and call it a career. You know what I'm saying? Like, this has not worked out. The Finn Balor experiment has been a failure. You know, just having him beat, I was gonna say Oni Lorcan for a second, but same shit. Timothy Thatcher means nothing. That's not a win. Like, it's not a meaningful win. Nobody cares who wins this match, right? You know, Finn Balor failed to qualify for the mid-card title of NXT. You know, and I don't mean he failed to qualify to become a number one contender. He failed to qualify in a 5-man ladder match for the vacant mid-card title of NXT. This guy, who at one point Paul Heyman called the biggest threat to Brock Lesnar. Think about what that means. That means that people like Cameron Grimes and fucking the thick boy, what's his name? Jonah Reed. What's his name? The fat guy. I forget his name. That guy, Bronson Reed. I think his old name was like Jonah Reed or something. Whatever. Who cares, right? That guy's supposed to be a threat to Brock Lesnar now because that guy qualified for a match that Finn Balor couldn't qualify for. So there you have it, motherfucks. I got nothing more to say about that. That was garbage. I did not like it. The match itself was very boring as well because it was a very Timothy Thatcher match. A very Timothy Thatcher-esque match. You know what I mean? Like, pretending it's like a real MMA fight. This guy's never going to make it either, you know? While you have the opportunity, send him to Raw Underground, you know, and just get that ball rolling immediately instead of waiting 3 years to give him useless pushes when he will inevitably end up there anyways, motherfucks. Next up, we have the ladder match I just spoke of. Damian Priest won. Once again, I'm going to use this match to explain why, what's his name? Cameron Grimes is great. Cameron Grimes came out, and when he went under the ring to get like a ladder, he pulled off this little small ladder. Like the kind of ladder that El Torito and Hornswoggle would use, right? And this was actually funny. You know, I know it's a stupid thing, you just pull out a ladder, but it was actually funny just because the way that he reacted, he's like, what the hell is this? You know, he had this look on his face. And then he used that ladder, he threw it at someone else. Now ask yourself, what other wrestlers can you see doing something like that? Right? Where it comes off as goofy, but it's not just goofy. It's grimy, motherfuckers. It's underhanded. It's like it's consistent with the way that Cameron Grimes wrestles and with his character, right? Imagine if Bronson Reed pulled out the ladder, right? The small ladder. That would be stupid. That wouldn't make any sense. As a matter of fact, people like Bronson Reed could be replaced immediately with someone like Bull James. Remember Bull James, motherfucks? So that's what I gotta say about that. I enjoyed the Cameron Grimes antics of this match. The match I thought was a little too long. Too many false finishes, like false grabs at the belt. The Candice LeRae spots were actually pretty nice. Bull Dempsey, as I call him now, he did a splash from the top of the ladder onto Gargano with Candice on his back. I thought that was kind of cool, But otherwise, the match wasn't anything special. From a ladder match for a vacant title, you expect a bit more, I think, So I'm not going to say it was shit, but it wasn't great. It wasn't totally garbage either, Next up, we had easily the best match of the night, and arguably, in my opinion, the best match of the week. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee, or as we call him in this channel, Pat McCafe, motherfuckers. Pat McCafe really impressed me. I'm not gonna lie. He was a very impressive wrestler. He wrestled very, very convincingly. He wrestled like he should. He showed character, charisma, athleticism. He was just great. All right. So during the match, he was beating the shit out of Adam Cole, right? And periodically, not periodically, but like all the time, he would do little taunts, and he'd be like, "I'm better than you," or that kind of shit, In other words, he wrestled very similar to Kenny Omega, right? Except Kenny Omega does it unironically. Kenny Omega does a taunt before and after every move, right? Sometimes 2 taunts in a row, motherfucks. And he does it like as part of the match, like as if he's wrestling a serious match. In the context of what Pat McAfee was doing, this made perfect sense. Why? I'll tell you why. Because what Pat McAfee was doing was he was telling, He was telling Adam Cole that I'm so much better than you that I don't have to take this seriously. I'm not a trained wrestler, but I'm still superior to you as a human being. And this point was proven and was showcased throughout the match. There were times when Pat McAfee did things that were incredibly athletic and incredibly impressive. And that was the point. The point was like, look at how much of a better athlete I am than you, right? Ultimately, Adam Cole won with the Panama Sunrise because Adam Cole is the wrestler. So it would make no sense for Pat McAfee to beat him in his own sport, right? Even though he is a superior athlete. I thought Pat McAfee more than held his own. I thought he was great. I'm sure the neckbeards are going to be like, Adam Cole carried this guy. No, motherfuckers, absolutely not. Pat McAfee has way more raw potential than Adam Cole, than Keith Lee, than Karrion Kross, than all these jabrones. He has way more raw athletic. He's a real athlete, number one. So he has way more raw athletic potential than all these guys. And 2, he's more charismatic than all of them combined. So there you go, motherfuckers. I'm a big fan of Pat McAfee, motherfuckers. Pat McAfee. I hope he comes back and wrestles again. What do we have next? Next up, we have the match between the women. I didn't think this was that great. I didn't really pay attention to it too much because I knew that Io Shirai would obviously win. So what was the point? There was no point. There's absolutely no point to even having this match. But yet here we are. Here we are, motherfuckers. We had the match nonetheless, and that's all we needed to know. Io Shirai ended up winning. Dakota Kai, she's not bad. I kind of like this gimmick, if you will. I kind of enjoy it. But the facts are what the facts are. You know what I'm saying? She is not, I don't want to use the word ready. I don't want to say she's not ready. But the reality is what the reality is, right? She hasn't been positioned as someone that could become NXT Women's Champion yet. She hasn't been positioned as someone that is worthy of even having a title shot. She's like kind of like in her, I don't want to say the beginning because it's been since November, but she's in the beginning of her push. So her becoming champion, that make no sense, I don't think anything was going to happen, and it didn't. So there you have it. I mean, nothing was impressive about that. I moved forward from it, and so should you, motherfuckers. Lastly, we had the match for the NXT men's title. This match I thought was pretty bad, if I'm being honest, right? Keith Lee did the best he could to do some cool moves, right? But the realities are what they are. Keith Lee could not afford to come off too strong during this match because the point of the match, the story of the match, the philosophy of the match was that Karrion Kross was the next big thing and that he was going to beat Keith Lee decisively, right? Now, I know a lot of people are upset. They're like, oh, Keith Lee got buried. It is what it is. I mean, what did you expect? You know what I'm saying? Either Karrion Kross becomes champion in a dominant fashion or he's exposed, or Keith Lee loses. I mean, those are the options, right? And obviously they weren't going to expose him. And Keith Lee couldn't have won just because, let's be honest, Karrion Kross is a heel. And heels make for better champions. It's as simple as that, motherfuckers. Simple as that. Keith Lee, they presented his win as if it was some historic thing, as if it was a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. It was just another guy winning the title from Adam Cole, who had been champion for a long time. It was quite evident, in my opinion, that Keith Lee was going to be a transitional champion. I knew he was going to win, but I knew that this was just to get the championship in the hands of another heel, right? Because what would be the point of Keith Lee being champion? It already got boring. I mean, what's he going to do? Oh, I'm Keith Lee. I go fight bad guys. What's his story? His whole story was like, oh, Karrion Kross is throwing fireballs at him and giving him hourglasses. It was stupid. So anyways, Keith Lee tried his best. He's a talented guy. He deserves better than this. But nonetheless, the match was shit. Karrion Kross ended up winning. He did his 3 moves. I mean, again, I kind of tuned out of this match. I was watching the whole thing, but I tuned out. You know, I tuned out just because of boredom. But what I remember seeing is Karrion Kross doing a clothesline, a few punches, the Doomsday Saito suplex, the cross jacket, and then the avalanche Doomsday Saito suplex, which ended the match. By the way, that was not a good finisher. Like, to finish the match with a top rope backdrop, let's call it what it is, motherfuckers. Let's not screw around here. It's not somehow more dangerous than a normal backdrop. He spins him a little bit in the air, right? But even the angle slam, which was delivered by Kurt Angle, even that was never considered to be this like super powerful finisher. And Kurt Angle would pick the guy up, spin him all around, and drop him with high impact, right? This was just a backdrop. It's like a shittier version of Shawn Michaels' teardrop suplex from back in the day. You know, it was not good. It was not a good finish. Keith Lee deserved better. I mean, Karrion Kross showed some strength by being able to kind of lift Keith Lee. That was pretty impressive, but I mean, it was what it was. Like, clearly he's going to feud with Tommaso Ciampa, and like, clearly NXT is just going downhill in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't enjoy the match. I didn't enjoy the 3-4 moves that Karrion Kross did. It was what it was. The match could have been something special. I understand they wanted to protect Keith Lee and not have him tap out or pass out, but I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, it didn't come off well. Keith Lee still looks like a bitch, and by losing. And I saw that he's going to Raw, and I saw on Twitter some guy wrote something like after Keith Lee lost or before SummerSlam, he was like, if Keith Lee doesn't come out to challenge Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre, then I don't know what to say. And I'm like, what, are you fucking insane? So you mean to tell me that this guy loses to Karrion Kross and now becomes the number 1 contender for like the number 1 belt in the company for the WWE Championship? That's what you think happens? You think losing to Karrion Kross in the D show makes you the number 1 contender in the A show? This is the kind of mentality that we're dealing with here, motherfuckers. These are the kind of people that think they understand wrestling. Like, oh, the only way to redeem Keith Lee is to have him beat Randy Orton clean. Get the fuck out of here. Keith Lee's never going to be that guy. Keith Lee's never going to be a main eventer. Understand me? He's not bad. I have nothing against Keith Lee. But he's not a main eventer. You know? He's going to be a nice mid-carder. He's going to have like a very Nakamura-esque career, except he probably won't win the Royal Rumble. And that's all there is to it, motherfuckers. That's all there is to it. So, that's what I got to say about that. The show wasn't that good. Stay tuned for, what's it called? For the SummerSlam review, motherfuckers. We'll see. All right, bitches. I'll talk to you guys later.